Queenzflips Improper Improv goes through another bad episode. Now, after episode 2 of Improper Improv, everybody was waiting to see if they would right the ship, and even though it was a much better effort, it still severely underperformed. So let's get into what happened. Flip starts off by saying he finally has control. Now, is this art imitating life or life imitating art? I truly think that Flip feels like he doesn't have control of Improper Improv, and the truth is, he shouldn't, as it's not the show that he created. He created it with Joe Budden, and Joe Budden even gave him the name. Remember when Flip said that he was initially going to call the show In Joe's Vision? And Joe said, nah, you could call it Improper Improv. So that just goes to show you that as much as Improper Improv may look like a Flip affair, a lot of it was actually created by Joe and Ian. Then Flip says that the decision to go bi-weekly is Ian's. Now, I had initially thought that Flip was the one doing this, but I wonder why Ian is instituting a bi-weekly edition of Improper Improv. Is it to help plan for the show? Is it because the logistics are harder now that they are not doing it at Joe Budden's studio? And I must also say that the set still remains odd. I get that it's one piece, but it's just not unique, and it really doesn't tie into the show in any way. So for me, it doesn't make sense. I know Flip had said that in other countries like China or Japan, that people are talking about the One Piece set, but as far as the audience that it's supposed to connect with, I don't think it really matters. I also noticed another technical difficulty a little bit into this show when Shammy's mic wasn't working.
Be hard at it. I'm just talking about from their point of view, not from my point.
Now, this is really odd because isn't it apparent to anybody on the show that the mic isn't working? It would be fixed later on, but just goes to show you technical difficulties are still happening. Also, Flip acknowledges on episode 2 that the first episode wasn't great.
I know the first episode, you know, a lot of you had a lot of complaints, and rightfully so. We were unprepared.
And that the clown show is over and he is no longer ceding control to folks like Ian. I think Flip is playing into a storyline that, you know, Ian is trying to control the show. It's very worldwide wrestling type stuff. You know, he's positioning it as if he's the one that is trying to make things work, but Ian is trying to corral him, when in reality, it might actually be Flip who's holding the show back. Then Shammy says he liked the last show. And I must say, I think Shammy is just really invested in this finally working. He really wants the show to work, and I think he's also holding it back somewhat. I think sometimes when he does the domestic violence stuff, like I don't know why he loves talking about domestic violence. It's really odd to me, and it was something on Stop the King that I was a little bit scared of myself. It's just there's so much other stuff to talk about. And I don't think he needs to talk about it that much. And I don't think he considers the platform that he's on. He's on the Joe Budden platform. So talking about that stuff could really go left. And I think he should corral that. I know Shammy is supposed to be a live wire, but the Joe Budden podcast is corporate. As much as we like to think of it as an independent platform, you can look at the podcast and notice that it's no longer an independent type outfit. Like it's just very corporate. The topics they talk about are safe now. Now, I think Shammy is smart enough and tactful enough to talk about other things, but he just gets caught up in that domestic violence topic that I think could really hurt the show. A little bit later, Flip and Shammy start getting into this diatribe about how Shammy accused Flip of never paying him.
You went on platforms and said you still ran with the narrative that I didn't pay you. You still ran with that narrative that didn't pay. I could have sworn I paid you.
Well, Ian gave you. So you should have called me and said, I know I ain't paid you, but don't bring it up.
And Shammy stands on his square and says, nah, Flip, you never paid me. You never paid me. And I do know that that's a big bone of contention between Shammy and Flip, is Shammy feels like he was never properly compensated for all of the work he put in at Flip the Network, which is something that I think Flip is lying about. I don't think he ever paid Shammy. Like, he might have thrown him off a couple dollars here or there, but I do think Flip in the back of his mind never compensated Shammy because he thinks that Shammy's well off. And he says that on the show. He says Shammy is rich, which is messed up. You should properly compensate Shammy because he is one of the most important people who ever hit Flip the Network. Then Sexy Stace arrives late. I think Stace was actually dope. I don't think she was bad at all, but she should not be arriving late. It's cool that she doesn't really need to engage in antics to help the show out. She can kind of just talk, which I feel like she proved herself this episode. She should definitely come back. Then the stripper arrives, and she was really good. She was pretty cool. Very good at her job. Did a great job of twerking and dancing. Very good stuff there. Then an interesting moment happens when Flip talks about how Shammy did stop the king.
So y'all is talking to somebody that y'all know 1,000 times. And on top of that, you see me slap a lot of niggas in my studio.
And how it was some sort of betrayal because I was kicking his back in. I was betrayed. I must say, Flip's positioning of how I treat him is very off and warped, and I think indicates a distorted view of reality because he acts like I've created a platform of, hating on Flip, when that really isn't the case. I just critique the show, but Flip still takes issue with Shammy even doing the show and says that he let me coerce Shammy into doing Stop the King, and I must say that is not true. Shammy and Dupreme reached out to me to do the show. Now, I was happy to do the show. I thought it was a cool idea, and all of the episodes are really good, and I believe that, this Stop the King thing is kind of like a producer of Improper Improv, because some of the topics from Stop the King are things that are being discussed on the show. So for me, it was a massive W for the platform, even though there was only 4 episodes. 4th episode is on Patreon, by the way. So, that's something we kind of need to acknowledge, is that Shammy, Dupreme, and me agreed to do the show. There was no coercion that took place. Then Shammy does something he typically does, and it's take shots at members of the Joe Budden podcast. He did that last year when he was making fun of Ish and Ice, and now he's making fun of Mark Lamont Hill for saying that he looks unmoisturized and that he fell off ever since he wasn't on CNN. Now, I don't think this is a big deal because I believe Mark Lamont Hill doesn't really care. Unlike Ish and Ice, who probably have real issues with when Shammy is hating on them. So I think he should just keep hating on Mark Lamont Hill. I believe he's the one that's mature enough to take it. After that, Flip calls out Shammy for making fun of when Imani was throwing out the idea of crowdfunding his album. A while back, he tweeted out how, hey, you think it would be crazy if I started a GoFundMe for my album? And Imani I thought it looked crazy, and so did Shammy, as Shammy continued to roast Imani on Stop the King. I think Imani tweeted out that he was considering doing a GoFundMe, but I don't know if he's doing. He wants to crowdfund.
How did you know? He tweeted it out. Yeah. Oh, Joe didn't comment on it.
No, he said that, would it be weird to do a GoFundMe for my album?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
This is not murky area.
Yeah.
No.
Don't do it.
What it does is make the show you're working on, the host who's world known. I don't care what you say.
Yeah.
Joe Budden is world known. He can't just go to certain places. I know people don't like to hear that. That old regular. He regular. He ain't regular.
He's just a man. Yeah.
Yeah, he ain't regular.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing regular about him.
At all.
He's a star.
No.
Yes, point blank. We're only trying to get where he getting, right? To get where he getting. Now, you're on the show. Go back again. You start a GoFundMe to do an album or whatever. Should it be? That means you're already going to do it. When somebody asks, you know what I'm saying? Should I? You already do it. They're not going to hear no. No, you shouldn't. Oh, why you say that? You asked, should I? Yeah. I said no. All right. The optics. Here we go back again. It makes Joe Budden look bad.
Yeah.
That a person that works for him, that gets paid handsomely, right? Nobody signed nothing stupid.
Yeah.
So everybody should be happy with what they signed.
The brand.
The brand. Yeah. There you go. That's even bigger than him.
Yeah.
The brand. Him and Ian and whatever they doing. Damn, this dude. That's what I said. I said, damn, he ain't paying them. Right? Yeah. Now, that could be 2 things, real quick. It could be a play to get more money. I got to set up a GoFundMe, and I'll embarrass you till you give me something.
Yeah.
Right? Or it could be innocent. And just, I'm setting them to do an album. I ain't want to ask you for no money. You know what I mean? I ain't like that. I'm your man.
Yeah.
Either way, it's not a good look.
And say that it indicated that he was broke and that it made the Joe Budden podcast look crazy for one of the co-hosts to request that somebody fund his album. A little bit later, Flip talks again about creative control, and he says that he was mad at Ian for the way he discussed how Flip needed a crutch on Improper Improv with Joe Budden not being there. For those of you that don't know, Flip did a space where he was talking about what happened with Improper Improv, and Flip went off on Joe for not being at the episode. And then Ian rightfully said, hey, do you need a crutch? Do you need a reason for why the show flopped?
Joe, how you telling my man Ian to change the name when you backed out the first place? Yeah, don't be
why does he keep saying I backed out of something that's his?
Because he needs a crutch, buddy.
Yeah, like
he needs to use you as a crutch because
I don't need no. Well, y'all can say that, but listen. At the end of the day, if things don't go well the next time, if things don't go the way it's supposed to go, watch what I'm gonna do.
Yo,
Stop jumping my nigga too, yo. Stop jumping my nigga too, yo. Since I need a crutch, watch what I do.
And Flip reveals that he cut everyone off briefly after that space because he was so upset at what Ian said. Then some of the more weird moments start happening in the show. A watermelon contest occurs.
Go!
Oh, this is crazy.
Oh my God. Yo.
Look at that. Oh.
And I don't know whose idea that was. It was a really bad look for the platform. Maybe don't do a watermelon. It's just such loaded imagery that I think they could have avoided. Maybe you could have had, you could have done the, shout out to Furious. He's, the complex thing. Furious is on my space a lot. He mentioned they could have had hot wings, and they could have done pepper or some stuff where it wasn't watermelon. And you could tell that back Woody, he wasn't feeling it because he intentionally lost the watermelon eating contest to Parks because of the way Shammy was kind of making it seem like a racial thing.
You crossed the line with the thing. I was gonna do the watermelon thing. I was gonna do it, but you was doing too much, and that's why I tried to throw a little loophole in it because it was too much. We had to have a white guy there to do it with me.
I know what was going on.
Right.
Don't ever do that again, guys. You're way better than that. It's weird for the platform to do that, and the views reflect it. The views for this episode are down a lot. It's currently hovering at 86,000, and the last episode of Improper Improv is the lowest of all the Improper Improvs. It could be for a variety of reasons. It could be they took too long of a break. It could be because they're not building momentum as a result of being bi-weekly. But the show isn't doing that great, y'all. I'm sorry. We need to have an honest discussion. Just because episode 2 was better than episode 1, that doesn't mean anything. Episode 1 was terrible, and episode 1 has higher views. So let me know what you think. I know a lot of people think I'm hating on Improper Improv, but I feel like the views are an indication that it's not resonating in the same way. And you have to also factor in that this production cost a lot of money. They got a new set. Apparently, I don't believe they're getting paid, but everybody on the show is getting paid as far as the guests, Shammy, Sexy Stace, Back Woody, Lansky, they're all getting paid. They also have all of these other things that they're doing. They're adding strippers. They have dudes making jerk chicken out in the back. At a certain point, I think they're going to pull the plug on this show. This does not look like a Joe Budden podcast production. This looks like a Flip the Network production. And they are two distinctly different things. I think Joe Budden's audience would probably love if he just did a live by himself as opposed to this. This has no value. I'm telling you, this has no value. It wasn't like last season where Joe and Flip would stop and talk about issues. Remember that episode where Joe and Flip talked about DJ Envy? The episode where they talked about Rory and Mal? I think Flip's demand for creative control has destroyed Improper Improv. And the only way they can fix it is one of two things. They can either get rid of the show or just rename it. That's not improper improv. That's not the same improper improv. It's like they took off one of the main characters, decided to come back and act like the show was the same. No, buddy. It's not the same. It's worse. Some of the antics are terrible. The decisions they're making indicate that there's a lack of guidance. Like you can tell that that show is being produced by multiple people. It's not Flip's vision. It's not Ian's vision. It's not Joe's vision. It's just a bunch of nonsense. And it was hard to get through this episode. It was hard. I was able to get through the first episode of Improper Improv, but this episode was a tough watch. And hopefully they get it together. But as far as I'm concerned, the decline of Improper Improv is happening in front of our eyes. And it probably will not last the 10 episodes. But who knows? All right, y'all. Follow me on Instagram to Stop TV. Follow me on Twitter to Stop TV. I got more stuff coming on Twitter and YouTube. This is Danny from The Stop. Peace.